But critics say some of the claims made by the Sussexes are inconsistent or untrue. CNN's Max Foster.
There clearly is some stuff, though, that doesn't line up with reality. I will say that. We'll see.
Oh,
it's
now
very important.
Whose side are you on?
I just think it's really important. I think obviously what happens in the royal family, you know.
I'm sensing sarcasm.
So as we all know, the media is now starting to call out Harry and Meghan for their lies. Here's Megyn Kelly calling them out.
Meghan Markle lies regularly, more than most people, about a lot. Yes, you can go back to the Oprah interview for many examples. She and Harry secretly married 3 days before their actual wedding. No. Her baby wasn't going to be a prince because of his race. No. She had her passport taken away by the palace. False. Palace HR dismissed her suicidal pleas for help. On and on and on it goes. Remember how she swore she had absolutely no contact with the writers of that fawning book, Finding Freedom, about Megxit? Compare those statements with her statements to the British courts, where she was forced to admit to the judge that, whoops, she forgot she 100% was in contact with the authors of Finding Freedom, a fact obvious to anyone who read that boot-looking embarrassment of a publication.
So some of the media have been calling out Meghan Markle, and Megyn Kelly was one of the first to say, hey, she's just straight up lying about everything. But I got a lot of blowback from the fans saying, hey, you're only citing all these right-wing sources that say Meghan Markle's a liar. Why don't you show any real news sources, quote-unquote real news sources, that show that Meghan Markle is lying? So here's CNN. They're going to go through some of the claims, and you're going to see how they even had to admit Meghan Markle is a liar. Check it out.
Winfrey, but critics say some of the claims made by the Sussexes are inconsistent or untrue. CNN's Max Foster is live in the UK with more. Like what, Max?
Well, Alison, it's interesting because there were these big issues that were raised in the interview, which have had a really profound effect and really resonated as well. But critics are also pointing at some of the inconsistencies throughout the sit-down.
So now, CNN being the left-wing media source, it can't call them outright lies. It has to call them inconsistencies, because don't forget, they're on Team Harry and Meghan. Now, CNN jumps right into it. The first lie that Meghan told was that she never looked up the royal family. She knows nothing about the royal family. But CNN fact-checked her about it. Listen to what they said.
Well,
then there was this line.
No, I've never looked up my husband online.
Twitter blew up with genuine disbelief, especially in light of what former best friend Ninagi Priddy told the Daily Mail. She was always fascinated by the royal family. She wants to be Princess Diana 2.0.
But you were certainly aware of the royal.
So she's never looked up her husband, but all her friends were like, no, she was been fascinated by the royal family. She's going crazy about them. But she said she never looked them up. And even Oprah had to say, well, come on, you can't make it seem like that, right? Even Oprah tried to clean it up at the end. So CNN's coming right out the gate with some vicious, vicious lies. Like, obviously she looked up the royal family. Obviously she looked up who Harry was. But let's get to the next lie, because we're just getting into it. The next lie that they bring up is when Meghan Markle said that her and Harry were officially, legally married 3 days before their wedding at the palace. Here's Meghan Markle again saying it, just in case you forgot.
3 days before our wedding, we got married. No one knows that, but we called the Archbishop and we just said, look, this spectacle is for the world, but we want our union between us. So like the vows that we have framed in our room are just the two of us in our backyard with the Archbishop of Canterbury, and that was the piece that... Just the three of us. Just the three of us.
The Sun getting hold of a copy of the marriage licence, showing the legally binding wedding was in the church, not the backyard. A spokesperson clarified the couple exchanged personal vows a few days before their official/legal wedding on May the 19th.
Now, CNN kind of left out one of the more important parts to the story. The Archbishop said it didn't happen. Said it's a lie. Meghan didn't wed before Windsor service. So who do you believe? The Archbishop or Meghan Markle? On to the next lie.
I think there's a reason that these tabloids have holiday parties at the palace. They're hosted by the palace. The tabloids are. You know, there is a construct that's at play there.
But tabloid reporters say they have no memory of such parties. Russell Myers, royal editor at the Daily Mirror, tweeting, Meghan has just claimed Buckingham Palace throw holiday parties for the UK tabloids. And now I'm wondering why I never got a ticket.
So she's even lying about the holiday parties. They don't throw holiday parties for the media. That's insane. But Meghan just has to lie because they want to put this narrative forth that the palace and media are working together against them. They've been trying to put this story together for 2 years. And now they have some people out there who are buying this crap. But it's a total lie. Why make something like that up? Something that's so easy to check. Let's go to the next slide.
Were you silent or were you silenced?
Oprah's question here has been the subject of countless memes, but the answer has been deconstructed too.
I've advocated for so long for women to use their voice, and then I was silent.
Is that true? Palace insiders will point to many occasions that show that Meghan was allowed a voice, they say, particularly on feminist issues.
Right now in the climate that we're seeing with so many campaigns, I mean, with Me Too and Time's Up, there is no better time than to really continue to shine a light on women feeling empowered and people really helping to support them.
Insiders will also tell you they showed full support in Meghan. A junior member of her staff, who's now left the palace, told CNN they bent over backwards as far as I could see. I think there was complete hospitality and kindness and grace. Everyone wanted to make it a success, a current royal source added. The Queen's senior team were directed to avail themselves to ensure she had all the support needed.
So Meghan wanted us to believe that they silenced her. She couldn't speak about Me Too and feminist issues. And then you see the clip of her speaking about Me Too and feminist issues and speaking her truth in her voice. That was the silence? This, again, is so easy to check. Why just make this stuff up? But CNN's doing a pretty good job of calling out the lies for what they are. Let's go to the next slide.
Unlike what you see in the movies, there's no class on how to speak, how to cross your legs, how to be royal. There's none of that training. That might exist for other members of the family. That was not something that was offered.
But CNN has been told the Queen dispatched her closest aides to Kensington Palace, Lady-in-Waiting Lady Susan Hussey and dresser Angela Kelly, to offer advice, guidance and tutelage to the Duchess. Royal aides say this was an unprecedented gesture of support for a new member of the family, and that every department of the Queen's household was open to Meghan.
Okay, so this one's a little bit more he said, she said, right? She's saying, hey, they just kind of left me out there to the wilderness. I didn't even know how to courtesy. They gave me no support. They just literally just put me out there and told me to figure it out. Or do you think a professional organization and institution like the monarchy would say, hey, we have someone new coming into the monarchy. Let's give them some classes. Here are a couple of my top people to help you transition to royal life. Which is more likely? What do you think really happened? Do you believe Meghan? She just kind of walked in there and tried to figure it out all on her own? Or do you believe the reporting from the palace that, hey, we did give her all the support? As a matter of fact, these are the people who we assigned to help her. Who do you believe? I don't believe Meghan. Let's go to the next lie.
Then there's the question of titles.
They were saying they didn't want him to be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol.
The protocol the Duchess referred to was issued by King George V, and it limits princely titles to children and grandchildren of the serving monarch, as well as the firstborn child of the Prince of Wales, none of which applies to Archie, though he will automatically become a prince when Charles becomes king.
Now, Meghan said that he wasn't going to become a prince because of racism.
Certainly must have had some conversations with Harry about it and have your own suspicions as to why they didn't want to make Archie a prince. What are those thoughts? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because of his race? And I know that's a loaded question, but
I can give you an honest answer. In those months when I was pregnant, all around this same time, so we had in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title. And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
And
who is having that conversation with you? What?
so,
There is a conversation. Hold up.
there's
Stop
several
right now.
there's several conversations.
There's a
about
conversation with you
it. With Harry.
about how dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
Ooh. And you're not going to tell me who had the conversation?
I think that would be very damaging to them.
Okay. So how does one have that meeting?
That was relayed to me from Harry. Those were conversations that family had with him. And I think
Whoa.
it was really hard to be able to see those as compartmentalized
Because they were
conversations.
concerned that if he were too brown, that would be a problem. Are you saying that?
I wasn't able to follow up with why, but that if that's the assumption you're making, I think that feels like a pretty safe one.
So what assumption is okay to make with these set of facts given to you by Meghan Markle is that the royal family is racist. And that's the reason why Archie didn't get the title. That's what they're saying, right? That's the assumption that she's saying it's safe to make. Now contrast that with the stuff that Harry's now saying, where he's claiming that they never implied the royal family was racist, that that's all made up by the news media.
In the Oprah interview, you accuse members of your family of racism. You don't even,
The British press said that.
Right.
Did Meghan ever mention that they were racist?
She said there were troubling comments about
There
Archie's
was
skin
concern
colour.
about his skin colour.
Right. Wouldn't you describe that as essentially racist?
I wouldn't.
So now Harry has to lie to save Meghan because she obviously implied very heavily that they were racist. That's the reason why he didn't get the title, and that's the reason why they were asking about his skin color. But Harry's trying to clean it up. No. They weren't saying anything about his skin color. They weren't saying anything about his race. You guys just made that up. I think he's sick, but sick in love with this lunatic. Here's how CNN closed out.
Some people also asking why Oprah didn't push back harder on some of those claims, but it was never touted as a news interview, even if it did produce more news than most interviews. Alison and John.
Okay, Max, now I'm all turned around. Now I'm all confused. Now I don't know what to believe anymore.
I don't think you've turned. I think you were always predisposed to be on the palace side.
No. You know I love Harry and Meghan, but I don't know. I mean, she doesn't feel supported. They say they supported her. Okay, that's a family. I mean, that's called life. That's a difference in perception. I don't know if we're ever going to get to the bottom of that one. If you don't feel supported and you're depressed, that's your prerogative.
Right. You can't argue that someone feels a certain way, right? You can argue that something didn't happen, but you can't argue that someone doesn't feel a certain way about something.
Yeah, and they exchanged their vows. Okay, I mean, official wedding, I don't know.
There clearly is some stuff, though, that doesn't line up with reality. I will say that. We'll see.
Oh,
it's
now
very important.
whose side are you on?
I just think it's really important. I think obviously what happens in the royal family,
I'm sensing sarcasm.
Even liberal CNN can't close their ears to the obvious lies here, the obvious lies that are still going on, and the obvious lies that Meghan and Harry want to put onto the public. And they know racism sells in America, right? If you just say, hey, I'm half black and everybody's racist against me, people are going to believe you even if it's not true. And he's been put in a horrible position to now have to defend his family and say, hey, we're not racist. They let me marry a black woman and bring her to the house, right? I got 2 black kids. Of course they're not racist. Why did she say it then? He's like, well, she didn't really say it because, she really didn't say it. Like, Harry, grow up. But listen, am I wrong? Is Harry really a good boy and just speaking his truth? Or is he the villain of this story with Meghan Markle? Let me know in the comment section how you feel. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'm out of here. Peace.